Chapter 440. Breakfast was very simple. Leah steamed egg custard and ordered Oriton to punch the meat into minced meat. Then he squeezed the meat into meatballs and boiled them with water. He then added some small potatoes and cooked a pot of potato meatball soup. The main dish was stewed sweet potatoes, but there were only 2 sweet potatoes, one for Gu Mengmeng and the other for Leah. Elvis and Oriton did not eat this. Gu Mengmeng used a small bowl to give some egg custard to Oriton, letting him have a taste. This fellow did not let down his own race. He raised his head and poured the bowl of steaming egg custard into his mouth. It was so hot that his eyes were bloodshot, but his face was still expressionless and expressionless. Gu Mengmeng poured some water for Oriton and said, "Are you a tiger? Don't you know how to cool it down before eating? Sigh, you really can't stop talking. Let me tell you, my son is more experienced in eating than you. I really don't know how you survived in the past. Didn't you choke to death?" After Oriton drank the water, he felt much better. He heaved a sigh of relief and replied, "Yes, I am a tiger." Gu Mengmeng could not help laughing and patted Oriton's chest, saying, "I know you are a tiger, you are really a tiger." Oriton nodded, expressing his agreement. After breakfast, the 3 males accompanied Gu Mengmeng to the deity altar again. This time, other than the males, there were also many females gathered. Gu Mengmeng tilted her head to look at Leah. Leah leaned close to her ear and said, "One of the 5 that were looking for chili previously mated with the same female as the one who won the previous hunt. So the females started to compete secretly to see who could get the most outstanding males among the winners." Gu Mengmeng's lips twitched. F***K was stamp collecting also popular in the beast world? Shaking her head helplessly, she realized that the males did not think that there was anything wrong with the females' actions. Instead, they were even more passionate than before. That's right, it was always the males who racked their brains to choose females. When had they ever seen females pounce on them? Moreover, it was a collective pounce. The winners could often choose the one they liked among a few females. This was something that he had only dared to dream about in the past, but it had actually come true. Gu Mengmeng counted. She had originally planned to recruit 50 people and found 10 males in the first batch. Other than Oriton, who mysteriously became her guardian beast because he shared food with her, the other 9 brought along 9 female family members. These 9 female family members also brought their own original partners. In fact, just the first batch of people added together was already more than enough. But Gu Mengmeng only counted the number of winners and the number of females. The people who followed them were not included. Miraculously, no one raised any objections. Only after a long time did Gu Mengmeng realize that they did not object because they could not count. So he had no idea how many people Gu Mengmeng was referring to. As long as he knew that there were still slots available, he could fight for them. Out of the 19 in the first batch and the 5 in the second finger, 3 of them already had partners. One of them had mated with the same female as one of the previous batch, and the last one had found a new partner. Therefore, the 2 groups added up to a total of 28 people. So in this batch, Gu Mengmeng had 22 spots. Chapter 441. On the way here, Gu Mengmeng had secretly given Leah 15 small balls weaved with vines. The balls were hollow and Gu Mengmeng placed some chopped chili in them. Then she asked Leah to pass it to Ian and let him send people to hide the 15 balls. As for where exactly they were hidden, not only did Gu Mengmeng not know, even Ian himself did not know. This was also the reason why Gu Mengmeng dared to give them 15 spots. She had predicted that a portion of the balls would not be returned. Gu Mengmeng took out a small ball weaved with vines and shook it. There are 15 of these balls scattered in the forest at the back of the mountain. Those who return here with the ball before sunset can join Saint Nazir. With that, Gu Mengmeng threw the ball of vines into the crowd. This is your last chance. Because after this round, Saint Nazir will not be recruiting any more people this year. And tomorrow morning, all the chosen ones will return to Saint Nazir with me. Warriors, I will be waiting here for your triumphant return. The moment Gu Mengmeng finished her sentence, the roars of hundreds of beasts resounded through the sky. Gu Mengmeng's sample ball still caused a commotion among the crowd. But Gu Mengmeng was no longer worried that they would be trampled. She turned around and leaned back into Elvis's arms. "Hubby, let's go home and make a rhinoceros horn comb. Be careful this time and don't break it again." Elvis smiled and nodded. "All right, I will be very careful." Of course, Gu Mengmeng did not get the rhinoceros horn comb as she wished, because that beast horn was once again broken into pieces in Elvis's arms. Gu Mengmeng's face fell. She smacked her lips. "Forget it, I don't really want it that much." Just as she said that, Elvis suddenly carried Gu Mengmeng up. Although Gu Mengmeng's senses were not as sensitive as males, She could still feel the way the three fellows instantly became guarded. Turning around, she saw Cole standing not far away. He was wagging his foxtail that was one size bigger than Lee's. Gu Mingming's lips twitched. Didn't they already make things clear the previous time? Why was he still here? Everyone was embarrassed. But Cole acted as if nothing had happened. He stood in front of Gu Mingming and bowed respectfully. Great messenger. Gu Mingming was stunned. Gu Mingming smiled awkwardly. What is it? Cole stretched out his hand with his palm facing upwards. An exquisite rhinoceros horn comb was lying in his palm, reflecting the sunlight and looking as warm as jade. Gu Mingming was stunned and blurted out, Where did you buy this? Cole smiled and replied, Buy? Oh, this was personally made by this subordinate. Its appearance is an imitation of the one that Sir Emissary usually uses to comb her hair. However, the details have been slightly altered. Gu Mingming nodded her head and wrapped her arms around Elvis's neck. She did not take Cole's comb, but her big eyes clearly said, I want it. Cole stepped forward slightly and stretched out his hand. If the great messenger doesn't mind, please accept this gift. Gu Mingming pointed at her own nose and asked, For me? Cole nodded in reply. Gu Mingming asked cautiously, What are the conditions? Cole was taken aback. He shook his head and said, To be able to do something for the great messenger is already an unparalleled honor. Cole doesn't dare to raise any conditions with the great messenger. Aside from the topic, as the saying goes, one is unaccountably solicitous. What was the second half of the sentence? Regarding the slow progress of the little baby reprinting me? Does the pace have to be so fast? I just hope that when you read my story you can relax a little, laugh a little, and it will be fine. We are not filming a mystery horror detective drama, right? We don't even know what we are acting after returning from the toilet. Isn't it good to slow down the pace and have fun together? Chapter 442. Gu Mingming frowned and her gaze was filled with wariness. She said faintly, One who is unaccountably solicitous is hiding evil intentions. Cole smiled elegantly and said, If I have to choose, I will choose the traitor. Gu Mingming roared in her heart. Can you keep away that gentlemanly smile on your face when you say such frivolous words? It's so out of place. Gu Mingming hugged Elvis's neck tightly and looked at Cole with a wary expression. Forget it, I don't want your comb. You can take it back to comb your own fur. Cole looked at his own tail and said, Thank you, great messenger, for your concern. But the fur of our snow fox tribe doesn't require any special care. As long as we switch between our human and beast forms, the dirt will be squeezed out and it will naturally be fluffy. So, I don't really need this comb. Gu Mingming shook her head and said, Then I don't care. You can deal with your things as you see fit. Cole was puzzled and asked, But, great messenger, didn't you always want a comb? Gu Mingming rolled her eyes and shook her head. Sigh, males will always be males. No matter how smart they are, they will never understand what a girl is thinking. Cole blinked his eyes and said as if he was suddenly enlightened, Great messenger, please don't worry and accept it. Although Cole hopes to become your beast pet, but if the great messenger is not willing, Cole will definitely not dare to offend you. Please pretend I didn't say anything just now and accept this comb. Gu Mingming shook her head and said, I appreciate your kindness, but I really can't accept your things. I do want a comb, but I want the comb that my husband made for me. Cole was even more puzzled. Elvis's clumsy look showed that he had already failed twice and did not even manage to make a prototype. Although there was a finished wooden comb, the texture was nothing to write home about. But this comb of his was different. Whether it was polishing or carving, he had put in a lot of effort. He had shown it to the females in the tribe before, and even the tricky and arrogant females of the Snow Fox tribe loved it. By right, most females should not reject it. What's the difference? Cole tried his best to be tactful because he already knew Gu Mingming's temper very well. If anyone dared to say anything bad about her family in front of her, she would immediately explode. Gu Mingming acted like an experienced expert and said, Of course it's different, the difference is huge. Cole nodded his head doubtfully and thought to himself, That's right, Elvis's wooden comb is so ugly, it's definitely different from the one I made. But Cole was very smart and did not say it out loud. He only continued to ask, Great messenger, please tell me, which part of this comb does not satisfy you? Cole will go back to refine it now, and before you leave tomorrow, I will definitely make a comb that you will be satisfied with. Gu Mingming shook her head and said, It's not a problem with the comb, it's a problem with the person. Don't you understand? What I want is the thought of my husband when he is designing an item for me, not the comb itself. As long as it's made by him, I like it. Cole revealed an envious look and felt a little disappointed. If it wasn't for Sir Elvis, I wouldn't have been able to? Gu Mingming nodded and said, if it wasn't made by Elvis, I wouldn't want it no matter who gave it to me. Cole glanced at Leah and asked again, Leah, even if it was Sir Elvis, wouldn't it do? Aside from the topic about Leah recently, I saw that many readers were worried for him and there were a lot of calls for Gu Mingming to forgive him. But I clearly remember that in the part between him and Nina, you guys wanted me to write him to death and torture him to death. Didn't you say that if he made Gu Mingming sad he shouldn't be forgiven? Do you guys even have a standpoint? Alright, compared to you guys, I'm the one who has no standpoint. I don't want to see my babies suffer. So I'll give you the process. Next would be the last wave of torturing Leah. After that, Gu Mingming would give him an identity to stay by her side. It would not be a one-sided pestering by Leah shamelessly, but an identity that Gu Mingming acknowledged. They would become a family, but the mating would have to wait because I still have some matters to settle. We'll talk about Lee's advancement after I'm done. Then will my babies be at ease? I want to see you guys laugh and not see you guys being distressed. Do you understand? Chapter 443. F******. He actually dug a pit for me. Gu Mingming roared in her heart. She forced a smile and said, my Lee's hands are used to treat and save people. What if he gets injured? That is such a precious pair of hands. How could he do such a thing? Gu Mingming's magnified disdain successfully covered the stiff smile on her face. Cole replied with an "oh," and did not say anything else. He just placed the comb on a huge rock outside the stone house and said, since the great messenger doesn't like it, there's no use for me to keep it. Then I'll leave it here. Whoever likes it, can take it. Gu Mingming did not reply to Cole. If there's nothing else, please go back. We have been busy the entire morning and are preparing to start cooking. Cole smiled bitterly, his face carrying a tinge of desolation. Cole knows that all of you did not prepare any food or air for me. Cole has already wasted too much of the great messenger's air today. Cole will take his leave. Goodbye, Gu Mingming waved her hands cheerfully. Then she hugged Elvis's neck and allowed him to carry her into the house. Once Cole walked far away, Elvis slowly opened his mouth. Xiaoming, don't worry. I will definitely make a better one for you. Gu Mingming smiled. Actually, I don't really like it. Our wooden one can also be used. That night, 12 males brought Gu Mingming's handmade rattan balls back to the deity altar. Gu Mingming opened them one by one and confirmed that they were all her handiwork. Among the 12 men, 4 of them already had a partner, while the other 8 were captured by the 4 females on the spot. And these 4 females had already mated with the warriors from the previous 2 rounds. Among them was Mandy, who had already mated with 2 males who had obtained the right to join Saint Nazir. Gu Mingming calculated. This time, excluding the family members brought by the females, they had recruited 44 people. This was about the same as her original estimate of 50. It was acceptable. Thus, Gu Mingming stood on the deity altar. Under the bright moonlight, she posed as God loves the world. Congratulations to all the warriors who have obtained the right to join. From today onwards, you are the tribesmen of Saint Nazir. My family, my friends and my partners. I will lead everyone to a well-off life. Although no one knew what a well-off life was like, it didn't affect everyone's excitement. There was no habit of clapping here, so when Gu Mingming finished her words, the males started roaring loudly. Gu Mingming had been scared a few times and was already used to it. She maintained a calm smile and waved her hands, gesturing for everyone to stop. Then, like the host of the Spring Festival Gala, he said, on this occasion I have another announcement to make, and that is, Gu Mingming's hands slowly swept across the crowd. Everyone held their breath and focused their attention on Gu Mingming's fingertips. Gu Mingming's finger finally stopped on Mandy. Mandy, come here. Me? Mandy was a little flustered. She didn't know if it was a good or bad thing for Gu Mingming to ask her to go up the stage. She was rather timid but didn't dare to disobey Gu Mingming. Hence, she could only let her partner escort her to the side of the altar. Then she climbed up and stood beside Gu Mingming. Gu Mingming sent him off and once again felt the malice the world had towards her. Chapter 444. Gu Mingming sighed and waved at Elvis. Elvis and Leah exchanged glances before both of them transformed into their beast forms and walked up the stage with lazy and calm steps. Before they went up the stage they even gave Oriton a look. Oriton, who had facial paralysis, was taken aback for a moment before he also transformed into a white tiger and followed Elvis and Leah up the stage. Elvis bent his front legs and gestured for Gu Mingming to get on his back. Gu Mingming was quite surprised. She had originally wanted Elvis to carry her so that she could not reach Mandy's head. But when Elvis and the other two walked up in such a flashy manner, Gu Mingming instantly felt that she was much more pretentious. Imitating the European ladies, she adjusted her skirt and sat on Elvis's back. Elvis straightened his body and looked down on the crowd. Leah and Oriton, one white tiger and one white fox, stood by Elvis's side like protectors. They did not speak but exuded a dignified aura that no one dared to offend. Gu Mingming did not know that at that moment, her image in everyone's eyes was that of a goddess descending to the world. She was so beautiful that nothing could compare to her. Her entire body was glowing with a fluorescent white light, attracting everyone's attention. She was beautiful but not bewitching, delicate but not glamorous. She was like a flower blooming on a precipice, protected by the steepest and hardest mountain. She was so delicate that she could not even be grasped, but could only be viewed from afar. No one could cross the 3 mountains to get close to her. Gu Mingming took the flower garland she made and placed it on Mandy's head. In the name of the messenger of the beast deity, I announce that the champion of this year's most beautiful female competition is Mandy. Not only is she the most beautiful female in Saint Nazaire, she is also the most beautiful female in the beast world. What? Mandy was so shocked that she could not speak. She was no longer the most beautiful female in the tribe? She was the most beautiful female in the beast world? And appointed by the messenger of the beast deity? Gu Mingming sat on Elvis's back and hugged Mandy gently. I hope that you not only have a beautiful appearance but also a kind heart. Cherish your partner like you cherish your own body. If you can do it, you will become even more beautiful. Mandy nodded with tears in her eyes. Lord Emissary, I can definitely do it. Gu Mingming smiled in satisfaction before releasing Mandy's hand. Tomorrow morning, all the tribesmen of Saint Nazaire shall follow me back to the tribe. Yes. 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 The deafening roar gave Gu Mingming a response. Gu Mingming patted Elvis's back lightly and he understood that it was over. So, he carried Gu Mingming down the altar and walked towards the stone house with his head held high and chest puffed out. Chapter 445. Gu Mingming counted with her fingers and smiled like a nouveau riche. She snickered. 16. Elvis did not understand. He looked at Leah and then at Gu Mingming. 16 what? Females. Gu Mingming kicked her legs in excitement. We've earned big this time. Oh my god, bringing back 16 females in one go. Every single one of them is a complete female and they're all the top beauties in their respective tribes. Just thinking about it makes me happy. So many? Elvis was clearly shocked. He looked at Leah. Seeing him nod, he looked at Gu Mingming. Xiaoming, you're too amazing. There's never been a tribe that could have so many complete females at the same time. Gu Mingming used her thumb to scratch her nose. She said proudly, that's right. Don't you know what kind of person your wife is? Messenger of the beast deity, Mighty One. Gu Mingming specially emphasized the word, Mighty One. She could not help but laugh. She wrapped her arms around Elvis's neck. Now Saint Nazaire will become the biggest tribe very soon. Elvis did not understand. Didn't you just take in 50 people? Gu Mingming stretched out a finger and waved it, making a no expression. She said, guess how many males will be rushing to mate with the 16 females we are bringing away tonight and get the quota to follow us? Elvis shook his head. He did not know. Gu Mingming asked again. Guess how many males will come after hearing the news that Saint Nazaire has 16 complete females? Elvis shook his head again. He did not know. Gu Mingming frowned. She snorted. Why don't you know anything? Elvis pinched Gu Mingming's little face with a smile and said, I only know that with 16 complete females in Saint Nazaire, you can disperse the covetous gazes of those single males in the tribe. Bring them back. There's one less partner to mate with. It's best if all the mating problems in the tribe are solved. Then I'll be at ease. Gu Mingming burst out laughing. She pouted. Annoying. How am I so popular? Not everyone in the world likes me. Elvis held Gu Mingming's face. He kissed her cheeks. Yes, you're the only one I like in my entire world. Gu Mingming's heart skipped a beat and the expression on her face melted from smiling. She melted into a puddle of water and melted into Elvis's arms. The next morning, when everyone set off in the opposite direction, Cole brought along the snow foxes to send them off. He brought along 7 to 8 beast skin bags filled with rhinoceros-like beast horns. Gu Mingming wanted to reject, but Cole said, This is a gift from Sauter to the mighty messenger and not from me personally, so please accept it. Gu Mingming could not reject them, but after thanking everyone she handed it over to Leah and asked him to arrange for someone to keep it for her. But as soon as he turned around, damn it, his nose started to bleed. Up to 100 snow foxes were wagging their furry tails in front of Gu Mengmeng. Their fox ears quivered and their little claws played around with their ears from time to time. If not, they would stick out their little tongues and lick them lightly. He lowered his head and begged, "Sauter knows that Ellie is the female that you saved, so they are afraid that you will be angry, so they refuse to let Ellie join Sauter no matter what. So. Chapter 447. Dart shook his head and said, "Lord Envoy, don't be angry. Ellie didn't mean that." Gu Mingming asked, "Then what does she mean?" Darch turned back to look at Ellie. Seeing how she looked like she was about to cry, his heart ached so much that he just knelt down by her feet. "Great messenger, everything that happened in the past was all my fault. I did not persuade Ellie properly, causing her to make that kind of decision in a moment of confusion. I beg you, on account that the 9 of us are males from Saint Nazir, please make an exception this time. At least Ellie is a female, the tribe will not reject females." Gu Mingming turned her body sideways and said, "Look behind me. Do you think Saint Nazir still lacks an ungrateful half-orc female?" Darch looked at the lineup behind Gu Mingming and was instantly dumbfounded. He slumped down and lowered his head. Gu Mingming patted Darch's shoulder and said, "I will never give a second chance to someone who has betrayed me. Parting on good terms might be the best ending. Don't embarrass everyone. It's better to leave some face for each other." Gu Mingming's words were directed at Ellie, but Li's body stiffened. It was the same, right? Once disloyal, 100 times not to be used. Mingming, you did the right thing. That's why you didn't get hurt. As for me, I can endure it. I can definitely endure it. I have the esoterica left behind by the previous messenger of the beast deity. Seeing that the big tribe was about to leave without any hesitation, Ellie shouted at the top of her lungs in desperation. Gu Mingming glanced sideways and sneered, 300 poems of the Tang dynasty? I don't need to look at it to write a copy for you. If you like it, keep it for yourself." Ellie shook her head and slid in front of Gu Mingming. She opened her arms wide and blocked Gu Mingming's path, saying, "Dream Realm, I know about the Dream Realm." Gu Mingming squinted her eyes. This was indeed what she lacked. The things left behind by the previous messenger of the beast deity were too fragmented and it was very difficult to piece together the complete information. The only thing she could not understand from the fragmented information was the word, dream. Was it a coincidence? Gu Mingming squinted at Ellie. Li bit her lower lip and said, "I used to be the Snake King's attendant and slipped out of the Snake King Valley because I was playful. Now I can't find my way back. I only hope to find a tribe that can shelter me." Gu Mingming said, "Discussing a deal with me? That's fine too, tell me your bargaining chip. I'll see if it's worth wasting Saint Nazir's food and air for you." Ellie clenched her teeth, removed a piece of scale from her abdomen and passed it to Gu Mingming. Ellie's scale was very big, about the size of Gu Mingming's palm. On it, a few simplified Chinese characters written at a kindergartner's level were written crookedly. When your actions deviate, the beast deity will appear in your dreams and guide you in the right direction. Gu Mingming did not doubt that the words written on the scale were left behind by the previous messenger of the beast deity, because no one in this world could read. Even the Snow Fox tribe in Sauter had forcefully worshipped the 300 poems of the Tang dynasty as a sacred relic for 1,000 years. Also, that weird English version of Little Apple was really imaginative. Gu Mingming rubbed her chin and looked as if she was in deep thought. She said, "This is a fake. The markings on it were not left behind by the previous messenger of the beast deity." Chapter 448. Gu Mingming smiled slyly and leaned forward slightly. She looked at Ellie as if she was looking at an idiot and said, "Do you think that I can't differentiate the markings used by messengers?" Ellie bit her lower lip and her face turned pale. She stared intently at Gu Mingming's eyes and said, "Although this is a copy, the information on it cannot be wrong. I drew it exactly the same if you don't believe. If you don't believe, you can go to the Snake King Valley and compare it with the original one." Gu Mingming laughed and said, "You who was born in the Snake King Valley, can't even find the way back and you want me, an outsider, to find it? Moreover, if I have the original Snake King, would this fake one of yours still have any value?" Ellie was taken aback and finally started to panic. She said, Then you are not willing to let me return to Saint Nazir?" Gu Mingming shook her head and said, "That's not it. Although it is a fake, the information on it should be real. Since I have received the information, I will keep my promise and let you return to Saint Nazir. But you must remember, although the information on your scale is real, it has no value to me. I let you come back because of your 9 partners who left Saint Nazir. If one day the 9 of them are injured, Saint Nazir and I will not let you off. Ellie understood that Gu Mingming was not allowing her to treat the 9 of them as food reserves during winter. Clenching her fists, Ellie nodded her head respectfully and said, "All right, I understand. Thank you, great messenger, for your tolerance." Gu Mingming waved her hands and said, "All right, let's continue forward." Elvis and Leah exchanged glances but did not ask Gu Mingming what the information on the scale was, as if they had a tacit understanding. Until that night, when the sounds of group mating could be heard everywhere, Gu Mingming really could not stand such a scene and asked Elvis and Leah to bring her out to lie low. Oriton wanted to follow but was rejected by Leah. After all, Oriton was not a member of Gu Mingming's family and he could not gain her absolute trust. "Elvis and I will go protect Gu Mingming, you have to stay behind to control the situation. After all, we're not here, so it's easy for someone to take advantage of us." As Leah spoke, he pointed at Ellie, who was at the outermost edge of the females. "We have to guard against her returning." Oriton nodded, indicating that he understood. He leaned against a big tree root and pretended to take a nap, but his whole body was unusually alert to his surroundings, especially to Ellie's movements. Elvis and Leah brought Gu Mingming far away until they were sure that no one was monitoring them, before they whistled to call Ian out. Gu Mingming took out the snake scale and passed it to Elvis. Elvis frowned in disdain and said, "I don't touch other females' things, it's disgusting." Gu Mingming then passed the snake scale to Leah, who hid even further away. "I won't touch it either. Among so many tribes, I hate snakes the most. Sinister, eccentric, difficult to get along with, and most importantly, ugly." Gu Mingming sighed and said, "All right, anyway you guys won't be able to read the words on it." Ian faintly said, "Why won't you let me see it?" Chapter 449. Gu Mingming reached out and passed the snake scale to Ian, saying, "Here, take a look." Ian turned his head and said, "I won't look either." "Gu Mingming, so you are just teasing me?" She wanted to yell, but then she thought about it and realized that Ian had suffered quite a lot. He had come to seek refuge with her openly, but now he was acting like an illegitimate child, hiding in the dark every day to protect her. It was normal for him to throw a little tantrum, so she held it in and did not say anything. She just kept the snake scale and continued, "The message on this snake scale says, when your actions deviate, the beast deity will appear in your dreams and guide you in the right direction." Leah was taken aback and asked, "Are you sure this message is real?" Gu Mingming nodded and said, "The words on it are the simplified Chinese used in our world. It is the same system as the 300 poems of the Tang dynasty, provided by Sauter. By right, Sauter should be the race that came into contact with this language the most, but even the people of Sauter don't know how to write, so it's even more impossible for Ellie to change the message on it." Leah asked again, "But you could tell it was a fake at one glance." Gu Mingming smiled and said, "When I was in Sauter, I saw the previous messenger of the beast deity's plaque. Those few words were written with a good foundation and were obviously different from the kindergarten words on Ellie's scale, so it was not difficult to distinguish them. Moreover, the previous messenger had been dead for more than 1,000 years. If Ellie was not by Sujin, she would not have had the chance to meet the messenger of the beast deity and let the messenger carve words on her body. If the words were not carved on her body by the messenger, then it can only be a fake." Leah nodded and smiled, "My Gu Mingming is so smart." Gu Mingming turned her head away with a look of disdain and said, "Such a big loophole. If Ellie expects me to believe that her scale is the real deal, then she is really stupid." Elvis frowned and asked, "So, have you ever dreamed of the beast deity?" Gu Mingming shook her head and said, "Never. After I transmigrated, I almost never dream. Even if I do, I don't remember most of it the next day. I don't have any impression of the beast deity." Leah and Elvis exchanged glances, then Leah said, "If you did not dream of the beast deity, then it proves that there is no deviation in your current course of action, right?" Gu Mingming did not know how to explain. She nodded after thinking for a while and said, "It should be something like that." Lee's expression was a little complicated. He lowered his head slightly and hid his facial features in the shadows of his silhouette. He said slowly, "That is to say, from the moment you joined Saint Nazir to mating with Elvis, giving birth to Hudda and his brothers, to coming to Sauter to participate in the beauty pageant and exposing your identity as the messenger of the beast deity, then bringing 60 new females and many powerful males back to Saint Nazir to strengthen the tribe instead of staying in Sauter, all these were the will of the beast deity." Chapter 450. Leah remained silent for a moment, then looked up under the moonlight. Smiling as gentle as the moonlight, he said, No, if you do something wrong, the beast deity will definitely guide you into the dream realm. So, the beast deity also agreed to take me in as a beast pet. Gu Mingming tilted her head, feeling a flock of crows flying past her head, ignoring Leah. Gu Mingming fiddled with the snake scale in her hands and said thoughtfully, should I do something out of bounds to verify the information left behind by the previous messenger of the beast deity? After all, the esoterica she left behind is not very reliable. Elvis gently tucked Gu Mingming's stray hair behind her ears and asked gently, what do you want to do? Let me help you. Gu Mingming blinked her eyes and said, I don't know. I have no clue at all. Elvis kissed her forehead and said, it's all right, just let nature take its course. When the day comes when you want something, I will definitely help you achieve it. Gu Mingming squinted her eyes and kissed Elvis's face, saying, hubby is so reliable. Ellie's scale was kept by Gu Mingming, then she turned to look at Ian and said, is there anyone unusual among the new batch of people? Ian's gaze shifted and after sweeping across Elvis and Leah, he said, isn't the most unusual one your new lover? Gu Mingming was taken aback and said, what new lover? When did I have a new lover? Ian said, he stands beside you every day with Elvis and Leah. If he isn't a new lover, then what is he? Gu Mingming suddenly realized that Ian was referring to Oriton and said, he is just sharing meals with us, he isn't a new lover. Ian laughed coldly and said, this majestic group of people all respects him as Lord Oriton. If he isn't your new lover, why is he being addressed as Lord? Gu Mingming choked. She knew that everyone had misunderstood her relationship with Oriton, thinking that he was her guardian beast, but in reality that was not the case. Oriton was really just sharing meals with them. If there was anything special about Oriton, it was probably that Gu Mingming could always see Elvis's shadow on him, so she was extra concerned about him. That was all. Sir Ian, now that I call you sir, are you also my new lover? Gu Mingming mimicked Ian's sarcastic tone. Ian took a step forward and sized Gu Mingming up. I'm not willing. Humph. With that, Ian flapped his wings and flew high, disappearing into the night. Gu Mingming was so angry that she waved her fists in the air and said, running away after saying what you want, so tasteless. Elvis remained silent. He pinched her chin and turned her little face towards him. He frowned and asked, you really like Ian? Gu Mingming sighed. Hubby, you have to change your bad habit of thinking that I have an affair with everyone. I'm not blind. Why would I abandon a tall and mighty man like you and fall in love with that sickly man? The corners of Elvis's lips curled up slightly, as if he was satisfied with Gu Mingming's description. However, he still raised his brows and asked, then why are you so angry when he flew away? Gu Mingming said, if someone punches you and you haven't even retaliated, but the other party escapes, won't you be angry? Elvis thought about it and said, let Leah activate the Blood Alliance to help you vent your anger? The corners of Gu Mingming's mouth twitched. You don't have to be so ruthless. It's not worth it to exterminate an entire tribe just because of a quarrel, and you even have to compensate Leah. Aside from the topic, there is no such thing as a way to satisfy both sides in this world. Leah is the big hole I dug for myself. If I don't forgive him, a part of my precious heart will ache. If I forgive him, a part of my precious heart will be angry. There is no way in this world that can cover everything. All I can do is to try my best. I want to stick to my outline and narrate the story I had originally thought of. I won't be looking at the comment section for a while, so whether you support 1v1 or 1v2, don't threaten me with the word, give up. It's just like dating. Quarreling is one thing but breaking up is another. Don't talk about it casually, because if you talk about it too much, it'll hurt the relationship. I write the story I want to write for those who like me to read. Chapter 451. The next day, when Gu Mingming woke up in Elvis's arms, it was already noon. Leah arranged for everyone to hunt, then demonstrated his culinary skills, letting every family send out the one with the highest level of understanding to learn how to roast meat. Males did not need to eat every day, usually one meal could last for a few days. Moreover, they ate more crudely, so they would directly eat in the wild during the hunt, then bring back the better meat for the females to eat. So in the end, 18 females surrounded a bonfire, watching their partners roast meat for them. Those who could stand in front of the females were all first partners except for Elvis. Gu Mingming turned back to sneak a glance at Elvis, feeling that he was a little pitiful. Everyone else had their whole families gathered together, but only Elvis sat alone beside 7 to 8 packages, holding a beast horn in his hands, carefully using his claws to carve and polish it. He was so focused, like an autistic child. Gu Mingming frowned, saying, "You guys eat first, I'm not hungry." Just as she was about to stand up to look for Elvis, Leah grabbed her wrist. Leah sat by the bonfire, one hand holding onto a stick of roasted meat while the other hand held onto Gu Mingming's wrist. He looked up at her and said, "Just this once, accompany me?" Gu Mingming's eyes widened. Gu Mingming looked at Leah, then at Elvis. Elvis had already heard the commotion, so he stopped what he was doing and turned to look at her. After a moment of silence, Elvis lowered his head and continued carving the beast horn, as if tacitly agreeing for Gu Mingming to stay by Lee's side. But Leah suddenly let go, lowering his head with a bitter smile, saying, "I can't be compared to him. He always thinks for you, but I always make things difficult for you. In the end, I'm too selfish." Gu Mingming sighed but still sat down in the end. Leah looked at Gu Mingming in shock, then smiled like a child. Gu Mingming pointed at the roasted meat on the fire, saying, "I want to add chili and brush it with honey. 2 layers, 2 layers." Leah nodded, the corners of his lips curling upwards, his eyes actually a little blurry. Gu Mingming turned her body slightly, leaning on Lee's shoulder, holding a bowl of honey water in her hands, drinking it in small sips. Perhaps, in the eyes of others, this was just a pet beast fighting for favor with the first partner, and the first partner was magnanimous enough to let it go. But Gu Mingming knew how hard Leah had tried to put on a brave front during his time in solder. Even if his heart was made of stone, it would have been ground into dust by the various incidents in the past. Moreover, he was just a fox demon. He needed warmth, comfort, and someone to support him so that he could breathe. He knew better than anyone else that even if he sat beside Gu Mingming and roasted meat for the other females as their first partners, his identity would never change to Elvis. He would always be that Leah who claimed to be a beast pet. Other than protecting him in front of outsiders, Gu Mingming would never acknowledge his identity as a beast pet. But even if it was just a dream, he still desperately wanted to grasp this illusory happiness. Just once, let him take care of her openly like a partner. Just once would be enough. Chapter 452. Gu Mingming laughed out loud as she looked at the panicking crowd. She felt as if she was watching the fire beacons teasing the nobles. After calling out to Elvis, Gu Mingming followed the females to the water source. The water source was a lake and the surface of the lake was as smooth as a mirror. The females leaned against the side of the lake to drink water, causing the water to sparkle and ripple. Gu Mingming smiled like a child who had succeeded in her prank. She bit on an unknown wild grass, causing the tip of the grass to sway, just like a hooligan from ancient times. Sitting on Elvis's shoulder, Gu Mingming could vaguely see something on the surface of the lake. She spat out the lotus leaf in her mouth and patted Elvis's shoulder excitedly. "Hubby, send me to the lake." Elvis did not understand, so he did as he was told. Once Gu Mingming reached the lake, she slapped her thighs and dived into the lake. Elvis's chest tightened and his pupils contracted. The scene in front of him overlapped with the scene when she was preparing to leave the lake for the first time because of Leah. His body reacted faster than his brain. Elvis jumped into the lake with a splash, followed by Leah, then Oriton, followed by the crowd who did not know what was going on. One by one they jumped into the lake. Elvis caught hold of Gu Mingming after swimming for a while. He grabbed her wrist and lifted her out of the water. The water was not deep and only reached the top of Elvis's navel. Gu Mingming wiped the water off her face with one hand and looked at Elvis, who looked like he wanted to kill someone, in confusion. "What are you doing?" Elvis clenched his teeth. "I should be asking you that, right?" Gu Mingming totally did not know why Elvis was angry. She just pointed at a flower in the middle of the lake. "I just wanted to swim over to see if that was a lotus. Why are you angry?" Elvis followed Gu Mingming's line of sight and frowned. "No, there's nothing there." With that, Elvis carried Gu Mingming and walked towards the shore. At the same time he gave Leah a look and Leah quietly dived into the lake. He pinched off the lotus from its roots and tore it into pieces. Then he swam back as if nothing had happened. Gu Mingming, who was on the shore, faced Elvis, Leah and Oriton. The three of them surrounded Gu Mingming in a triangle. Elvis's face was black, Lee's was cold and Oriton. He had a poker face and looked at everything with the same expression. Gu Mingming clearly felt that she did not do anything wrong, but with the three of them looking at her like that, she still felt a little guilty. She mumbled, It's just a flower. If you don't want me to look at it, I won't look at it. Do you have to be so angry?" Gu Mingming felt that she did not do anything wrong, but she still felt a little guilty. Was Elvis? Gu Mingming looked at Elvis. Gu Mingming looked at Elvis's claws that were fiercely clawing at her left chest due to the immense pain in his heart. The 4 bloody marks were a ghastly sight to behold. Gu Mingming went forward to hold onto Elvis's wrist and said in a panic, "What are you doing?" "I'm just swimming and looking at the flowers." "Did you have to dig out your heart and commit suicide when you were only 200 meters away?" Chapter 453. Gu Mingming was dumbfounded and asked, "What second time? Didn't I just go into the lake?" When Gu Mingming said lake, she suddenly understood what Elvis meant. Biting her lower lip, Gu Mingming wrapped her arms around Elvis's neck gently and patted his back to comfort him. She said gently, "Silly hubby, do you think I want to go back to the other side through the lake?" Elvis did not say a word and Leah just looked at Gu Mingming with a frown. Oriton did not know what had happened, but he was affected by the tense atmosphere and became a little uneasy. Gu Mingming sighed and said, "Hubby, what do I have to say to make you believe that I won't abandon you?" Gu Mingming pulled her collar with one hand and revealed the proud and aloof black wolf on her collarbone. She used her other hand to caress Elvis's face and said, "Do you remember what I said on the day we made it? Elvis, I love you. I will give myself to you, and from now on, I will treat you as my pride, my sky, and my husband. If you don't abandon me, I will stick by your side in life and death. If you are in danger, I will use my life to protect you." Elvis's eyes flickered and he seemed to have a lingering fear, as if he had been reborn after a disaster. Xiaoming. Elvis could not say anything else and just hugged her fiercely into his arms and locked her against his chest. He wished he could rub her into his body so that he would not have to worry about her suddenly smiling at him and saying, "Thank you for these days," before disappearing into some lake. Gu Mingming allowed Elvis to hug her. Even though his strength made her feel pain and made it hard for her to breathe, she did not struggle or resist. Instead, she hugged his sturdy body back gently and patted his back from time to time. "Unless you want to abandon me, I will never leave you. Moreover, we still have 4 sons. Even if I am not a hubby anymore, my sons are still flesh that fell from my body, right? Don't tell me you don't want them anymore? There is no such heartless mother in this world." Elvis frowned and said, "Yes, and they are everywhere." Gu Mingming felt very helpless. The females in the beast world had already developed a distorted concept of, "I'm the most precious in this world." The word, dedication, did not exist in their dictionary. No matter what others did for them, it was as if it was expected and expected. So what if it was their own son? Didn't Nina kill her own child with her own hands? Gu Mingming said, "If the lake water makes you uneasy, then I will never go near the lake again, alright?" Elvis remained silent and just looked at Gu Mingming silently. Gu Mingming continued, "I was too excited just now and forgot about the trauma I caused you in the past. That flower was a lotus. If there was a lotus, it meant that there were lotus roots. That was a type of edible food. I was really tired of eating potatoes and sweet potatoes, so when I saw something to eat, I forgot everything else and didn't care about anything else. I really didn't mean to abandon you. I really didn't." "Really?" Elvis spat out these 2 words with much difficulty. Gu Mingming knew how hard Elvis wanted to believe in her. She also felt that she was a joke, that her trust limit with her husband was actually so low. But what could she do? Who asked her to have a bad credit record? Chapter 454. Elvis then slowly loosened his grip. He felt guilty when he saw the wounds on Gu Mingming's fair arms from his hug. He gently touched the red marks on Gu Mingming's body and said, "Xiaoming, I'm sorry." Gu Mingming chuckled and wrapped her arms around Elvis's neck. She leaned into his arms playfully and said, "It's my fault for not being able to give you an absolute sense of security. I will change in the future, so don't be angry, alright?" Elvis kissed Gu Mingming's forehead. Only then did he feel his heart start beating again. His blood started to circulate and nourish his entire body. Leah did not say a word and just quietly dived back into the lake. When Gu Mingming realized that he was gone, he had already been soaking in the lake for half a day. "Where did you go?" Gu Mingming stood in the shade at the shore and called out to Leah, who had just been called back by Oriton. She looked at his snow-white and fluffy fur that was stained with mud and looked dirty. Leah transformed into a human 3 steps away from Gu Mingming. There was only a puddle of muddy water left on the ground. He then elegantly took the beast skin dress from Oriton and wrapped it around himself. Then he walked to Gu Mingming and said, "I did not find the lotus root you mentioned just now." Once he said that, Elvis's nerves tensed up again. Gu Mingming held Elvis's hand and turned to look at him. She said, "Keep your uneasiness and listen to my explanation first." Elvis pursed his lips and nodded. Gu Mingming then continued, "Where there are lotus flowers, there will definitely be lotus roots. But they do not appear at the same time. I went into the lake just now to confirm if that flower was a lotus flower and not to dig for lotus roots. because lotus roots can only be found after the flower has withered. Leah and Elvis looked at her doubtfully. Gu Mingming really regretted jumping into the lake because of her heartbreak. It was just a moment of recklessness. Now look at how much trouble she had brought to herself. Gu Mingming sighed helplessly and said, "How about this? You guys can remember this place first. Wait until August or September, which is before winter, then we will dig again. Then you guys will know if I am speaking the truth or not." Leah patted Elvis's shoulder lightly and said, "Meng is the messenger of the beast deity, and food concerns the survival of the entire tribe. She would not joke about this." Elvis looked back into Lee's eyes. His hand on her shoulder was clearly trembling. Nodding his head, Elvis said, "I know Xiaoming will not lie to me, she will not lie to me." Gu Mingming said helplessly, "Before we dig out the lotus roots, I promise I won't go near the lake, alright?" Elvis nodded. They had come to an agreement. The onlookers who didn't know what was going on were all dumbfounded. Shouldn't females do whatever they want? Why did the messenger of the beast deity seem a little timid? Where are the females? Where are the females? Gu Mingming stretched out her arms and stood in front of Elvis, asking for a hug. Elvis hugged Gu Mingming in his arms without saying a word. Only with such a distance could he feel slightly more at ease. The females didn't dare to eat the roasted meat with chili. In the end, it was all eaten by the males. Then another round of whose male is least afraid of spicy food competition started inexplicably. Chapter 455. After walking for another half a day, they were already out of the forest. Elvis and the rest chose to rest by a stream, preparing to make dinner for the females before setting up camp here to rest. After all, the females had not eaten their fill for lunch. Although they had eaten some wild fruits along the way, how could the delicate females be so easily appeased? It was just that no one dared to make things difficult for Gu Mingming since she did not say anything. But even if the females did not say anything, it did not mean that the males did not feel heartache. Hence, those who went hunting at night were the strongest in the family. Elvis did not go because he knew that Gu Mingming did not have a big appetite and would not feel hungry after eating anything. Hence, he let Oriton go hunting while he and Leah guarded Gu Mingming closely. At the end of the day, he was still feeling uneasy. Gu Mingming did not mind and just let the two fellows follow behind her like tails. "Xiaoming, where are you going? Let me carry you." Elvis knew that Gu Mingming understood his uneasiness and felt embarrassed. He could not even give her this little bit of trust. Elvis felt that he was a complete failure as a first partner. But this was the only thing in this world that was his Achilles heel. It made him worry about his gains and losses and be full of ambition. Gu Mingming pouted her lips and said, "I think I saw a bamboo forest nearby when I came here. I want to see if there are any bamboo shoots." Elvis carried Gu Mingming in his arms and gave Leah a signal with his eyes. Leah then secretly whistled and several black figures flew past above their heads. The sky was not bright and everyone else was busy taking care of their own females, so no one noticed the commotion here. Elvis asked, "What is a bamboo shoot? Is it also food?" Gu Mingming nodded and said, "Yes, bamboo shoots are very delicious. One's life is incomplete without eating bamboo shoots." Elvis remained silent for a moment before asking again, "Didn't you tell Oriton that one's life is incomplete without eating bird eggs?" Gu Mingming pursed her lips and dragged out a long before saying, "Sigh, your lives are too incomplete. Bird eggs are one part and bamboo shoots are another. Think about it, if you were to return to a time without roasted meat, sweet potatoes and fish, can you still get used to it? Do you feel that your life is incomplete?" Elvis remained silent for a moment. In his heart he really felt that it was still all right. But looking at Gu Mingming's passionate eyes, Elvis nodded his head firmly and said, "Yeah, it's not complete." Gu Mingming had a "see, I knew it" expression as she continued, "After you guys eat the bamboo shoots and lotus roots, you guys will realize that your happiness index is multiplying. In an era where food was so scarce, every edible food was a precious gift. Haven't you heard the famous saying of Confucius? Not active in eating, mental problems? Let me tell you, Confucius said so many things, but I think this is the most reasonable one." Elvis nodded his head in confusion. At this moment, a huge bird circled above their heads and flew towards a direction after circling 2 rounds. Elvis and Leah exchanged glances before transforming into their beast form, carrying Gu Mingming on his back and flying away. Chapter 456. Gu Mingming took a step forward and slapped Ian's chest, saying, "Good man, I didn't expect you to be so capable." Ian frowned and took a step back, saying, "Just talk, don't touch me." Gu Mingming rubbed her hands and said, "Leader is the one who can find food, I won't touch you if you say so." Gu Mingming left Ian behind her and dashed into the bamboo forest, looking carefully at the ground with her big eyes. Luckily she inherited Elvis's night vision ability, or else she would definitely not be able to see anything. Elvis and Leah were at a loss as they did not know what Gu Mingming was looking for, so they could only follow behind her and wait for her instructions. Gu Mingming walked for more than 10 steps before suddenly stopping and running away. Elvis and Leah did not understand what was going on, so they quickly followed behind, only to see Gu Mingming squatting in front of a bunch of bamboos, rubbing her hands and looking at the tip of the bamboo shoot with the exact same expression as a pervert teasing a little servant girl, smiling slyly. Leah went forward and squatted beside Gu Mingming, pointing at the small bamboo shoots, asking, "You want to eat this?" Gu Mingming nodded, then turned her head to look around. Leah asked again, "What are you looking for?" Gu Mingming said, "Something that can be used as a tool to dig them out." Leah stretched out his hand and pinched the tip of the bamboo shoot lightly, pulling it upwards seemingly effortlessly. Then the part of the bamboo shoot that was buried in the ground was pulled out. Damn. Gu Mingming could not help but shake her head and clap her hands. God knows how deep the roots of the bamboo shoot were buried in the ground, how could it be pulled out with bare hands? Stop. When Leah reached a certain height, Gu Mingming suddenly shouted for him to stop. Leah looked at Gu Mingming without moving, as if someone had pressed the pause button on his shoulder. Gu Mingming pointed at a spot on the bamboo shoot and said, "Come, cut it from here, we only need the top part, there's no need to uproot it." Leah did as he was told and cut the bamboo shoot neatly, then gave it to Gu Mingming. Gu Mingming looked at the thick and tender bamboo shoot with a lecherous smile. She touched the bamboo shoot's clothes as if she was taking off a servant's doo-doo. Elvis walked forward and without saying a word, he directly took the bamboo shoot from Gu Mingming's hands and took a bite. Then he started chewing in front of Gu Mingming. Gu Mingming was shocked. "You eat raw potatoes, sweet potatoes and now bamboo shoots?" Elvis looked at Gu Mingming with an expression as if he was eating sh*t. He swallowed the bamboo shoot with difficulty and said, "You can dig bamboo shoots, but you can only eat them when I'm still fine tomorrow." Gu Mingming was taken aback. She then reacted and asked, "So you have been testing for me all along?" Elvis replied, "Of course you have to try this kind of food that no one has eaten before you can eat it." Gu Mingming felt very touched but worried at the same time. She punched Elvis's chest and said, "What if you're poisoned?" Elvis smiled and allowed her to behave wildly in his arms. He said calmly, "I'm very strong, normal poisons can't take my life. Moreover, don't we still have Leah at home?" Gu Mingming smiled and said, "I'm very strong." Gu Mingming stared at him and asked, "What if Leah can't cure you?" Chapter 457. Gu Mingming looked at Elvis and remained silent for a moment. It was undeniable that Elvis's deep love moved her, but accompanying it was a strong sense of unease. Gu Mingming wrapped her arms around Elvis's waist and placed her little face on his chest. She said slowly, "You promised not to leave me behind?" Elvis hugged Gu Mingming back and enjoyed her dependence. "I swear I will not leave you behind." Gu Mingming looked up and met Elvis's affectionate eyes. She raised her eyebrows unknowingly and put on a pitiful expression saying, "But if you die, won't you be abandoning me?" Elvis leaned over and kissed Gu Mingming's forehead. "Silly girl, even if I die, my soul will always be by your side." Gu Mingming twitched her lips. "Yeah, your soul will stay by my side and watch how others bully me?" Elvis was taken aback. "No, you will never be bullied by others. Even without me you still have Leah, Ian and the Eagle Owl tribe, Barit and Oriton, and the entire Saint Nazir," Gu Mingming said, "but they are not my hubby. Without you, my sons and I will become orphans and widows. It will be very pitiful." Elvis was already very happy that Gu Mingming could say that. He did not care if his sons were pitiful or not, but if his death would affect Gu Mingming's life, then he really could not die. After a moment of silence, Elvis passed the bamboo shoot to Leah. Leah was a little surprised. He received the bamboo shoot with both hands and looked at Gu Mingming with sparkling eyes. Can I help you test for poison too?" Gu Mingming scooped the bamboo shoot back. "Sigh. I feel that I should first make an umbrella. Food should be put aside first." Leah and Elvis were at a loss. They could not understand what she meant. Gu Mingming continued, "You guys must have stored all the water in your brains because you didn't have an umbrella when it rained." Elvis and Leah looked at each other. Then they shook their heads in unison. Even Ian, who had been standing coldly at the side, tilted his head slightly. Elvis said, "There's no water?" Leah said, Yeah, I didn't hear any water sounds. Ian, no. Gu Mingming smiled helplessly and said, it's already too deep, I can't shake it out. Elvis thought for a while and said, we've been traveling in the rain since young, so it's not strange for there to be water. Anyway, he hadn't felt any discomfort over the years, so it shouldn't be fatal. So be it if it was deep water. You don't have to make umbrellas anymore. It's so tiring. Generation gap. There must be a generation gap between them. Gu Mingming felt that water must have entered her brain, or else why would she discuss this topic with these three fellows? Clearing her throat, Gu Mingming returned to the original topic. If you know that something is not poisonous, why must you eat it yourself? Can't you just catch a mouse and feed it? Elvis and Leah were shocked, as if Columbus had discovered a new continent. Gu Mingming waved her hands lightly and said, keep the admiration on your faces. Keep a low profile, keep a low profile. Leah said, all right, then I'll go catch the mouse. Chapter 458. Gu Mingming had no doubt that with Elvis and Lee's behavior of digging deep holes to accumulate food, if she did not instruct them, they would have caught all the rats within 100 miles radius. Elvis and Leah nodded their heads to indicate that they understood, then continued plucking bamboo shoots. Elvis was not as good at controlling his strength as Leah. He often crushed the bamboo shoots into pieces but could not pluck them out. In the end, Leah simply told him not to create trouble and just accompany Gu Mingming properly. While Leah was plucking bamboo shoots, Gu Mingming held onto a bamboo that was as thick as her arm, sizing it up and down and making gestures. Elvis saw that she was interested in this bamboo, so he asked, can this be eaten too? Gu Mingming shook her head and said, even pandas don't eat such thick bamboo, not to mention humans. Then, Elvis did not understand. Gu Mingming patted the bamboo and said, hubby, cut it for me from here, I want this bamboo. Elvis replied, all right. Elvis wrapped his arm around Gu Mingming's waist and protected her in his arms. His other hand turned into a sharp claw and with a light wave, the bamboo was broken into two with a creak. The bamboo leaves rustled and fell towards one direction. Elvis's palm faced upwards and caught the bamboo steadily, then he let go of Gu Mingming's waist and said, can I just bring the whole bamboo back? Gu Mingming shook her head and said, hubby, put it down first, let me take a good look at it. Elvis adjusted the angle and placed the bamboo on the ground. Gu Mingming squatted down and looked for a long time before saying, hubby, here, give me another claw. Elvis did as he was told. Gu Mingming picked up the section that was cut off and smiled happily. Look, drink the water cup. Gu Mingming said, this bamboo joint is solid and the bamboo tube is hollow. As long as you cut it at the right place, it will become a ready-made water cup. Elvis looked at the 5 meters long bamboo and asked, you need so many water cups? Gu Mingming shook her head and said, that's not necessary, I only need 10. Elvis asked, 10? Gu Mingming nodded and said, Hada and his brothers, one each, one for you, one for me, one for Leah and one for Sandy. Gu Mingming turned around and looked at Ian asking, Hero, do you want one? Ian snorted coldly and said, our Eagle Owl tribe drinks do, we don't need such vulgar things. Turning around, Gu Mingming said to Elvis, Oriton is quite pitiful, he doesn't even have any friends other than us. So prepare one for him too and one more hee hee hee. Elvis raised his eyebrows, he was especially interested in Gu Mingming's hee hee hee. Gu Mingming hooked her arms around Elvis's neck, just like two primary school students hugging each other and discussing how to cheat in an exam later on. She said, the other one, I want to use it to do Gu Mingming's organizational behavior special incentive method practical operation. Elvis looked at Gu Mingming blankly, not understanding what she was saying at all. Gu Mingming said mysteriously, anyway, I have my own plan. Just follow this and help me make 10 cups. Elvis nodded, then pointed at the one in Gu Mingming's hand. Oriton. Then he cut another one and looked at it carefully. He didn't seem satisfied, so he said, Hada. Chapter 459. Elvis cut until he reached the 7th one, before taking out a bamboo cup with a clean cut and no hair at all in satisfaction. He handed it to Gu Mingming and said, Mingming's? Gu Mingming took over her cup and smiled happily. Elvis cut another one and said, mine. Gu Mingming took over Elvis's cups and held them in each hand to study. Meanwhile, Elvis casually cut the remaining 2 cups carelessly. Gu Mingming took out the snake scale that Ellie gave her and used the sharp edge to carefully engrave the words Gu Mingming on it. Then she engraved her name on Elvis's cup. She then passed Elvis's cup to him and said, here, this way we won't get mixed up. Elvis took over the cup and looked at the mark on it that he did not recognize at all. He would not tell Gu Mingming that even if there was no mark, the orcs would not recognize their own things wrongly. But with the mark she added, this cup looked especially different. After Elvis finished his work, Leah had already plucked bamboo shoots as high as a small mountain. Gu Mingming hurriedly stopped him and said, all right, if you continue, this bamboo forest will not be able to continue. Leave some for others, we just need enough to eat. Leah looked at the small pile of bamboo shoots and frowned. So little? Enough to eat? Gu Mingming said, it's the rainy season now and the humidity is high. If there's too much, it will go bad easily and it will be a waste. Leah said, can't we pickle it? Gu Mingming's lips twitched and she said, pickle bamboo shoots? Forget it, eat something fresh, how can we always eat pickled vegetables? Leah nodded and said, all right, I'll listen to you. I will help you pluck when you want to eat it. Gu Mingming smiled and nodded. Then she took out a cup from her arms and passed it to Leah. Here, it's yours. Leah had been listening to Elvis and Gu Mingming's conversation all along, so he knew that one of the cups was for him. But when Gu Mingming really handed it to him, Leah was still a little excited. After all, this was the first time Gu Mingming gave him a present. Leah held the cup in his hands carefully, as if he was holding a rare treasure. Gift givers always hoped that their gifts would be liked, and Gu Mingming was no exception. Seeing how much Leah treasured it, she said, how about I carve a name for you too? Leah asked excitedly, can I? You can also carve a name for me? Gu Mingming took over Lee's cup and said, Aya, isn't it just a matter of a few strokes? Using snake scales to carve words was obviously not as good looking as using a pen, but since everyone was illiterate they did not know what she had written, so she did not feel embarrassed. When she passed the cup with the words Leah engraved on it back to Leah, he did not take the cup. Instead, he held onto Gu Mingming's wrist and pulled her into his arms. Gu Mingming, thank you. Today. I'm very happy. When we were eating, and now. Thank you. Thank you. Gu Mingming was not prepared for Leah to suddenly hug her. Feeling a little uncomfortable, she wanted to push him away, but hesitated. After a moment of silence, Gu Mingming replied, the cup was made by Elvis. When we were eating, it was also you who took care of me. I should be the one thanking you. What you have done for me is much more than what I have done for you. Leah chuckled and slowly let go of Gu Mingming. Then, he used his finger to lift her chin gently and asked, then are you going to repay me with your body? Aside from the topic, today's update is over. See you tomorrow, babies. Also, the great editor said that he will arrange for a big recommendation for me in March. He asked me to save more chapters and prepare for an explosion of chapters. It would be a little difficult to save chapters with 9,000 chapters a day, but Susu will work hard. Chapter 460. Gu Mingming replied gently, scram. Elvis howled at the sky, scaring Gu Mingming so much that she shuddered. She turned around and asked, hubby, what are you doing? Are you excited to see the moon? It's not a full moon night today. Elvis carried Gu Mingming and said, there are so many bamboo shoots, Leah and I can't carry them all. Call the males in the tribe to come over and work. Gu Mingming looked like she was about to break down. She said, Sai, this is such a tragic beast world. We basically rely on walking for transportation and roaring for communication. Ian laughed coldly and said, ha. Gu Mingming wanted to scold him, but he flapped his wings and flew away, flew away, flew away. So what if you can fly? Do you think you are an angel just because you have wings? You could even be Lei Jinzi. If you have the guts, don't fly. Come down and see who is better. Gu Mingming was just putting on an act and roaring. Who knew Ian would return and stop in mid-air, transforming into a half-orc. His human body flapped his wings and he looked down at Gu Mingming from above. His face looked even paler under the moonlight and he looked slightly sickly. If you have the guts, come down. Gu Mingming clenched her teeth and pointed at Ian. Come down. Ian raised his eyebrows and landed slowly. He transformed into a human and took a step forward. I'm coming down. What do you want to compete with me in? Gu Mingming took a step back and said, You really came down? Ian crossed his arms and said, Didn't you ask me to come down? Gu Mingming hissed and said, Do you have any professional ethics for quarreling? You clearly know that I can't beat you in a fight and can't catch you. Why can't you just let me have my fun? Ian raised his head and said, Weaklings don't have the right to flaunt their prowess in front of the strong. If you can't beat me in anything, why should I let you have your fun? Gu Mingming nodded and said, All right, if I don't compete with you today, you will think that I am afraid of you, right? Ian nodded. Gu Mingming looked around and then chuckled. You didn't mate, right? Ian nodded and looked at Gu Mingming with a "you're talking rubbish" expression. Gu Mingming hugged Elvis's arm and said, I have a partner, do you? Ian was speechless. He was clearly a bird, so why did he feel like a dog at this moment? Gu Mingming tugged at her collar, revealing the mating mark. I have a mating mark, do you have one? TSK, let alone an old bachelor like you who doesn't have a partner. Even if you did, you wouldn't have a handsome mating mark like mine. Ian? Gu Mingming leaned into Elvis's arms and scrutinized Ian, saying, I have 4 sons, may I ask how many children do you have in your family? Ian. Woof woof. How dare you torture a single dog and even bring a group of family and child package? Gu Mingming chuckled and took 2 steps forward. She hugged Ian's neck and said, I heard from my hubby that your Eagle Owl tribe didn't have a single female previously. On this trip I brought back 16 golden hairpins. All of them are perfect females, the #1 beauties of the original tribe. I even abducted many of the strongest warriors from the tribe. Sai, are we still competing? Ian was silent. He had to admit that Gu Mingming's last point had hit his sore spot. Chapter 461. Gu Mingming laughed slyly, then hugged Ian's neck even tighter. But since these beauties are now part of Saint Nazir and the Eagle Owl tribe is also part of Saint Nazir, your tribesmen can also woo these females if they are willing. Being able to fly is a rather awesome additional attribute. I believe many females would be willing to have an air force at home. Of course, since we are so close, I will definitely take care of you first. If you like anyone, I will help you matchmake them. Look, I was the one who matchmade Sandy and Colin. Colin's proposal was pretty good, right? Do you want a similar model? Ian frowned and looked at Gu Mingming. He could not pinpoint what was strange about it, he just felt that Gu Mingming's tone, he could not put his finger on it. It was mainly because Ian was not a modern person. If he was, he would definitely use an accurate question to reply Gu Mingming. May I ask, are you a pimp? What? You don't like my 16 valued females? They are already the first beauty of each tribe. Gu Mingming looked at Ian and asked. Ian remained silent for a moment, then asked, the Eagle Owl tribe is your secret power. How can you woo females if you cannot be seen in public? Gu Mingming laughed and said, so this is what you are worried about. Brother, you are thinking too much. How inhumane must I be to make you guys unable to see the light for the rest of your lives? It's just that when my identity was first exposed, Leo was worried that someone would secretly make a move, so he asked you guys to hide temporarily. This kind of trick will lose its effectiveness after being used once. So, it shouldn't take long before you guys can appear in front of your tribesmen openly. Ian looked at Gu Mingming and asked, are you really willing to let the Eagle Owl tribe mate with the females of Saint Nazir? Gu Mingming asked, why not? I'm not a twisted psychopath who wants someone to be a bachelor for the rest of his life. Ian said, once we mate with a female, we will become a member of her family and will no longer be a tribesman of the Eagle Owl tribe. In the future, no matter where the females go, we will follow. This also means that the blood pact has lost its effectiveness. Gu Mingming chuckled and said, the tighter you bind someone, the more he will want to break free. When your blood alliance is completely dissolved, if you are still willing to stay in Saint Nazir and stay by my side, then you will be my true tribesman. Equality, mutual reliance, mutual support. He's the kind of person who you can trust your back to. This kind of person can't be obtained through restraints. Ian looked at Gu Mingming quietly. After a long while he smiled and said, I lost. You can shout in front of me as you wish now, as long as you are happy. With that, Ian flapped his wings and flew high, instantly disappearing into the night. Meanwhile, the tribesmen who had received Elvis's signal had already rushed over. Gu Mingming leaned back into Elvis's arms and watched as Leah instructed the crowd to carry the bamboo shoots properly. Everyone was at a loss, but no one dared to ask, what is this? They just followed behind Elvis and Leah in an orderly manner. Leah swayed his large tail and did not look at Gu Mingming. He just stared straight ahead and asked slowly, Mingming, you don't seem to believe in oaths. Be it what Elvis said, what I said, or what others said. Chapter 463. Gu Mingming lowered her head and looked at the mark on her collarbone. She smiled faintly and said, I'm actually very sorry that this mark could not be branded on my heart, because it proves my selfishness. Elvis frowned. He was not angry, but his heart ached. He did not like the expression on Gu Mingming's face. She was clearly smiling but looked so sad. Gu Mingming said, "Initially, I agreed to mate with you because the atmosphere was too confusing. Another reason was that I did not want to be alone anymore. I believed you. I felt that if it was you, you would definitely not betray me or abandon me. So, at that time I selfishly wanted to possess you and capture you. But I did not love you deeply. If we only mated now, I believe that your mark would definitely be on my heart." Elvis gazed into Gu Mingming's eyes gently. His blue pupils seemed to have condensed all the deep emotions under the night sky on her. He slowly opened his mouth. His voice was low and melodious like a cello. "Xiaoming, thank you for your selfishness. Because it gave me a lifetime of happiness." "You don't blame me, Mark?" Gu Mingming looked at Elvis. She wanted to say something but stopped. Elvis shook his head and said, "To be able to leave my mark on your body is already a blessing of 3 lifetimes. To be able to be so close to my heart, how can I blame you?" Leah remained silent for a long time before finally saying, "Gu Mingming, I'm sorry." Gu Mingming was taken aback. She thought about what she said to Elvis. From Lee's perspective, he must have been blaming him for the lie he made up to make her accept Elvis. Just as she was about to explain, Leah spoke first. "After that incident, I thought of many ways to remedy it. But I still owe you a complete apology. I was too arrogant. I always felt that everything was going according to my plan. I neglected your feelings and caused you to be hurt again." Lee's expression was too solemn. This made Gu Mingming's heart tug hard. He himself was covered in wounds and wounds. How could she ask him to consider the past, the present, and the future for someone he didn't even know? Gu Mingming suddenly smiled. She patted Lee's shoulder and said, "Compared to an apology, I want to hear a confession more." Leah looked up with disbelief in his eyes, but when he saw Gu Mingming's sly smile, he knew that he was thinking too much. Gu Mingming replied, "Because I can reject a confession but I can't apologize." As expected, Leah took a deep breath and changed back to his usual seductive and affectionate look. He leaned against Elvis and rested his chin on Elvis's shoulder. He wagged his large tail in front of Gu Mingming and said, "You obviously enjoy the feeling of me being by your side, right?" Gu Mingming scoffed and said, "How is that possible? I can't wait to find a senior monk to deal with you, you evildoer." But Leah did not believe her and said, "Then why did you ask me to scram back, the other time? You even said that if I don't return to your side, you will ask Elvis to break my legs." Gu Mingming was deeply worried about her intelligence and regretted for the 10086th time that she should not have been rash and fallen into this cunning fox's trap. Clenching her teeth, Gu Mingming said, "I'm just afraid that Oriton's good cabbage will be taken away by you, you sly fox." Chapter 464. Gu Mingming tried to pull her hand back but to no avail. She clicked her tongue and said, "Can you maintain a consistent style? It's hard for me to accept you like this." Leah looked up at Gu Mingming and said, "Make me stay if you like me, hug me if you want, throw a tantrum at me if you want, tell me to scram when you hate me. Don't feel guilty because you didn't mate with me. Staying by your side is my own choice, because your selfishness is what I wish for." Gu Mingming said, "Why? It's all in the past." Leah said, "As long as I don't die, you will never be in my past." Gu Mingming could not reply and could only remain silent. The group of onlookers behind were watching with great interest. A gossipy. Breaking news. The former 9th Highness of the Messenger's tribe degenerated into a beast pet. Is this a corruption of morals or a distortion of human nature? Please watch, Gu Mingming vs. Leah *AVI. A small portion of these people were former members of Saint Nazir while the majority had just joined this time. The new members did not know what had happened between Gu Mingming and Leah in the past, but this did not stop them from watching the gossip with great interest. Are they holding hands, holding hands? Look, the great messenger's gaze is melting. I bet 2 giant beasts that the great witch doctor will definitely be able to take the position. No, I don't think so. Look at the cold aura that the great tribe leader is emitting, he will definitely not let him take the position so easily. Just as the main leads were silent and the onlookers were exchanging glances with each other, the group finally returned to their original campsite. The females surrounded them and felt strange at the things the males were hugging. Mandy was the one who was more familiar with Gu Mingming among the new females, so she plucked up her courage and asked, "Great messenger, what is this?" Gu Mingming then regained her composure from Li's words. Rubbing her face, Gu Mingming said, "This is bamboo shoots, it's the best for stewed meat. Let's stew a small pot later." Those who like it can register with Leah and let him distribute it to everyone. It's food. Do I have to add chili too? Mandy was obviously afraid of the spiciness today. Gu Mingming smiled and said, if you guys are not used to eating chili then don't put it in, I will make a special dish for myself. Mandy lowered her head in embarrassment and said, Gu Mingming took out a bamboo cup and handed it to Mandy. We found this in the bamboo forest just now. It's perfect for holding water. You are the first beauty of the tribe, so I'll give this cup to you first. Mandy was extremely surprised. She wiped her hands on her body and carefully received the cup. She looked at Gu Mingming and asked, this is really for me? Gu Mingming nodded and said, of course, you are the first beauty of the tribe, you should be rewarded. Mandy was so excited that she was about to cry. Holding the bamboo cup with both hands, she spun on the spot like a toxic dragon drill. Gu Mingming maintained a polite smile, but in her heart, she was ridiculing. This era of material scarcity, what has it done to women? How could a piece of broken bamboo be so happy? Chapter 465. He still had to rely on Leah to cook. Fortunately, he was not affected by the events on the road and had already recovered. Gu Mingming intentionally avoided him, but he acted as if he did not notice and continued pestering Gu Mingming, asking, it's also my first time eating this thing, you should at least give me a demonstration, right? Gu Mingming had no choice but to nod her head. She took a small step back and widened the distance between them. She called Elvis over to cut the bamboo shoots into slices before cutting them into strips. Elvis had a side effect from cutting ginger during winter. No matter what he cut, the thickness would be similar to that of ginger slices. Unless Gu Mingming had special instructions, they would all be treated the same, mechanized assembly line production. Gu Mingming set up a small pot. She first used the fat meat to make some oil, then placed the cut beast meat into the pot. Fire was different from gas. There was no way to control the heat evenly, so she could not fry it slowly over a small flame, and could only stir-fry it quickly. After barely stir-frying the meat until it was golden brown, Gu Mingming scooped the meat out and added ginger and chili into the hot wok. After stir-frying it until it was fragrant, Gu Mingming poured the meat back into the wok and added water. After everything was done, the surroundings were already crowded with people. Gu Mingming looked up and saw many pairs of longing eyes staring at her. Gu Mingming tilted her head and said, here? I added chili. Mandy took a small step forward and said, great emissary, I'm not afraid of chili. Can you share some with me? Gu Mingming squinted her eyes and smiled, it's my honor to be able to have dinner with the first beauty of the tribe. Mandy blushed and slowly walked to Gu Mingming's side. She sat obediently by the side and watched Gu Mingming's back view as she circled around the pot, her eyes filled with admiration. Gu Mingming used beast skin to pad the handle of the pot and poured the bamboo shoots into the pot. She then used chopsticks to stir the bamboo shoots evenly before using a stone board to cover the pot. Turning his head to look at Leah, he said, that's the basic process. Normally you can collect the juice after stewing it for an hour, but the meat of wild beasts is harder to rot than domestic pigs, so you can cook it for another half an hour or so. Season it with salt before serving. All right, do you still have any potatoes? Leah nodded. There's more. Gu Mingming said, then cut 2 potatoes and soak them in water. Just put the potatoes in the pot and stew them together. Leave the water that was used to soak the potatoes and don't touch it. After the starch has settled, pour away the excess water and leave it for the final thickening. Leah nodded nonchalantly and looked at Gu Mingming. Suddenly, he went forward and pressed his face against the tip of Gu Mingming's nose. He stayed there for 2 seconds and smirked at Gu Mingming's frightened face. But, how long is 1 hour? How long is half an hour? Gu Mingming cleared her throat and took a small step back. You don't have to be so precise. Just make it about the time you usually stew potatoes. Leah wrapped his arm around Gu Mingming's waist and pulled her into his arms. Using his height advantage, he shrouded her under his shadow. He looked down at the flustered Gu Mingming and said in a low voice, I'll teach the other males how to make stewed meat with bamboo shoots first, then come back to eat with you. Gu Mingming pushed Leah a few times but to no avail. She could only maintain this pressuring posture and look up at Leah. Actually you can stay and eat with them. You don't have to come back to accompany me. Chapter 466. Gu Mingming laughed dryly and said, make more and ask Oriton to come over and eat with us. Leah leaned forward and approached Gu Mingming slowly. Gu Mingming retreated with all her might until her spine was bent to its limit. She had no choice but to place her hand on Li's chest and stuttered, What are you doing?" Li's long and narrow eyes were filled with sadness and he said in a low voice, "The more I ask you to be more selfish towards me, the more you want to push me away?" Gu Mingming remained silent and did not reply. Leah hooked Gu Mingming's chin with one hand and did not allow her to avoid his eyes. He then said softly, "You drew a boundary and did not allow me to cross it. I can only stand at the boundary and look at you that I cannot touch no matter how long I stretch out my arms. Greed and desire have forced me to break through that boundary again and again to get closer to you, but you always escape even further the moment I cross the boundary. I don't want much, I just want to push the boundary a little closer to you so that I can touch you with my fingertips when I stretch out my arms with all my might. Then I will know my place and not cross it, just a little bit will do so that I can reach you, just a little bit." Gu Mingming pursed her lips and remained silent for a long time before saying, "Maybe the scenery behind you is even more beautiful. Why don't you try turning around?" Leah laughed, a rather miserable laugh, and asked, "You are abandoning me?" Gu Mingming did not say anything and just frowned. Leah suddenly let out an ah sound as if he had suddenly realized something and said, "Yes, in your eyes and in your heart, I am no longer the daddy Leah from before. You have never allowed me to become your male, so, abandoning, to me, is a luxurious word." Leah let go, turned around and stood still. "I will go teach the males how to stew bamboo shoots and then stay there to eat with them. You don't have to let Oriton go there because of me. Although I am not the one who is favored, but I am also happy to have another person by your side who can make you happy." With that, Leah slowly walked to the side and did not look back again. Li's body heat still lingered on Gu Mingming's body, and when the night breeze blew, it disappeared without a trace. Winter was clearly over, but it was still so cold. Elvis hugged Gu Mingming from behind and kissed her forehead. "As long as you call for him, he will come back." Gu Mingming's eyes lit up. Gu Mingming shook her head. "Maybe I should let him live." Elvis was confused. Gu Mingming said, "We have a famous saying there, if you love, please love deeply. If you abandon, please be thorough. Don't be ambiguous and hurt yourself and others." Elvis remained silent and did not speak. Gu Mingming stood behind Leah and stared at his back as he demonstrated how to make bamboo shoot stew meat in the crowd. She said, "Maybe from the start I shouldn't have taken a laissez-faire attitude and given him a buffer period. This kind of attitude made it harder for him to let go. It was hard for him to give up and he was at a loss for what to do." Elvis kissed her hair and said, "No, you're not wrong. If you hadn't been soft-hearted back then, Leah might not have survived that winter." Gu Mingming looked up in confusion. Chapter 467. "If you didn't allow him to enter the cave when I was injured, when the snow melts this year, you might only see a dead fox at the cave entrance." Gu Mingming stared at Elvis in a daze. After a while she said, "He was at the cave entrance when the stray beasts came? Then why didn't he come in to help?" Elvis's expression froze. He lowered his head and said, "Xiaomeng, I'm sorry." Gu Mingming frowned and looked at Elvis without saying a word. Elvis pursed his lips and said, "I pretended to faint during the battle to create a chance for Leah to enter the cave. I was afraid that you would be too embarrassed to mate with him because I was awake, so that—" "Don't be angry." Gu Mingming turned her head away, not wanting to say a word to Elvis. Elvis was like a child who had done something wrong. He followed behind Gu Mingming and pulled her hand. "I know I was wrong. I shouldn't have lied to you and pretended to faint to make you worry. But Leah could not hold on any longer. If I had done that, he would have died in the snow. I was afraid that I would regret it and also afraid that you would, so I was wrong. If you are angry, you can hit me? Or twist my ears?" As Elvis said that, he transformed his pair of wolf ears and placed Gu Mingming's little hands on his ears. He bent down to accommodate Gu Mingming's height. "I promise I won't hide. Twist my ears until you vent your anger, all right?" Gu Mingming sighed. "If I remember correctly, we had just mated when the stray beasts rushed into the cave, right? Elvis, do you really love me?" Elvis was completely frozen. He hugged Gu Mingming tightly in his arms. "I know you are angry. I will accept any punishment you want, but you are not allowed to leave me. Not allowed. Do you love me?" This was a very serious question, because Elvis clearly remembered what Gu Mingming had said before. "If you have a change of heart in the future, I will bring my sons back to where I came from and never come back again. I will make sure that you will never find us again." After experiencing Gu Mingming's jumping into the lake, incident in the afternoon, Elvis was extremely sensitive. He was too afraid that Gu Mingming would leave him. He did not know if Gu Mingming would be disappointed in him, suspect his feelings and waver in her decision to stay. Gu Mingming took a deep breath. I did not say I want to leave you. I just asked you, do you really love me? Elvis hugged Gu Mingming tightly and refused to let go. He desperately wanted to prove his love but realized that all his words were so pale and powerless. He did not know what to say to make Gu Mingming believe that the reason he helped Leah create that kind of opportunity was precisely because he loved her too much and did not want her to be unhappy in the slightest. After pondering for a long while, Elvis held her hand and placed her palm on his chest, saying, "If I dig it out for you to see, then you won't leave, all right?" Gu Mingming's heart trembled. Gu Mingming felt the vibration coming from her palm and only spoke after a long while, "You don't have to use this method to keep me here. My son is still here so I won't leave." With that, Gu Mingming retracted her hand. Elvis refused to let go. He was afraid that she would injure herself with brute force, so he could only use his other hand to hug her waist tightly to secure her in his arms. Frowning, Elvis could feel the uneasiness in his chest that was throbbing in unease. "You don't even dare to say you love me. Why are you still hugging me? Let go of me." Gu Mingming twisted and struggled, kicking and hitting Elvis. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.